In this video, we're going to look at Paul Morphy playing against Louis Paulsen in the first American Chess Congress back in 1857. But first, a little review about Paul Morphy. In our first video, we saw a game that Morphy played when he was 10 years old against his dad. In the next one, we looked at Morphy going over to Europe and beating their best players, playing the opera game in Paris in 1858 against the Duke and the Count. In this video, we're going to see Morphy's famous game against Louis Paulsen from the First American Chess Congress. But first, some quick background to refresh our memories. Morphy was born in 1837 in New Orleans, Louisiana, and then he did go to Europe in 1857 and 1858 and beat the best players there in Europe. The only one he couldn't play was Howard Staunton. He really wanted to play Staunton because most people felt that Howard Staunton was the best player in the world. But he did beat Adolf Anderssen, and Anderssen had won the first ever international chess tournament in London in 1851. And Staunton was in the field, but he was also the organizer, so it's tough to do both. Staunton may have been just as strong, or if not stronger, than Adolf Anderssen. In any case, here he is in a drawing against Anderssen. Morphy's on the right. And before he went to Europe, though, he established himself as the best player in America when he won the first ever American Chess Congress. And that was held in 1857 in New York. Now, here we see a list or picture of all of the participants. You had to advance to the finals by winning mini matches, these small matches where you had to get 3 wins before your opponent. Morphy beat his first 3 opponents 3-0, 3-0, 3-0, only surrendering 1 single draw. Louis Paulsen also made it to the finals, only giving up 1 draw on his way there. So we see in this drawing, there's Louis Paulsen, and here's Paul Morphy on the right side. Paulsen was an extremely slow player, and Morphy played pretty quickly. Because he had grown up playing, chess was like a language to him, and so he moved more quickly than most, usually about a minute per move. He was very frustrated. Paulsen would use, in one game, used 14 hours, and Morphy used under an hour to play that one game. And so after 5 games in their match, Morphy was up 2-1. He had lost 1 game to Paulsen, and they had a couple of draws. And Morphy said, "I am never going to lose to this guy again." In the end, he won the final 3 games to win the match 5-1 and be recognized as the strongest player in America. And I want to recognize that this book, Great Moves, Learning Chess Through History, is really important to me in my research for these Morphy videos. And it was by FIDE Master Sunil Weeramantry, Alan Abrams, and Robert McClellan. For those of you that don't know, Sunil Weeramantry is the dad or stepdad of Grandmaster Hikaru Nakamura. Pretty cool. Let's move over and have a look at this game that was played between Paulsen and Morphy. Morphy is black in this game, and it starts out like a lot of your games probably start out. A 4 knights game, and now Paulsen goes for the center fork trick. The idea is if knight takes knight, then Paulsen will play pawn to d4 and get some good control over the center. Morphy loved development, though. He just keeps bringing his pieces out. So he's gambiting up a pawn here, but he's going to get it back pretty quickly. And already he's grabbed his pawn back and has a little bit of initiative. Initiative means you're the one that is in control of the game. You're making the threats and your opponent is on the defensive. All right, so now it's pretty obvious to see what move Paulsen wants to play next. He's going to push that pawn to d4. And Morphy knows it. One thing Morphy was great at was stopping his opponent's plan. He plays queen to d3 and blockades that pawn. And now Paulsen's trying to break through over here. Morphy plays an inaccurate move here. He plays bishop to d7. And Paulsen should remove this queen by playing his queen to a6. He doesn't do that. Instead, he played rook a2, and Morphy took control of the game. So Morphy should have played bishop to b7 to keep that queen out of a6. That would have been a stronger move, and just try to keep a bind on the position. The queen would have to come back to try to trade off the rooks, but it might be a little bit too late. And now he has no choice. He has to give up something because the queen and the bishop are on the f-rook. And it might have gone something like this, with Morphy giving back the exchange in order to get a real bind on the position, something like this. In any case, let's go ahead and see what happened in this game. So after the queen captured, Morphy did play the queen out. Rook came up, rook over, and now he's threatening queen takes rook, right? So simply queen takes f1, check, king takes, and then rook to e1, checkmate. So sacrificing the queen to get that back rank checkmate. And so Paulsen jumps into a6, but it's a little bit late. And this is where Morphy took more time perhaps than he ever took in any competition. He took 12 minutes on this move. And he probably had the idea right away and was 90% sure it worked, but he wanted to calculate it all the way out. And in the end, he played queen takes f3. And the idea, of course, is that all four black pieces, the two rooks and the two bishops, are aiming towards that side of the board, and the white pieces are not well coordinated. With the white king being open, check, and the bishop coming in, threatening a quick mate in two, bishop to g2, and then bishop back out to f3 for a discovered checkmate, the rook has to run and give the king some running room. So now he can go over to f1. Now at this point, Morphy actually missed a quick mate. He could play rook g2. I think it was because he had taken so long in that previous move that he was trying to kind of make up for it and move a little more quickly. He saw a winning plan, and a lot of times when masters see a winning plan, they won't look for a faster winning plan. They'll just go, okay, I see that this plan wins, I'm just going to finish it off. And so it would have gone like this: take, check, check, and double checkmate. But Morphy didn't see that. Instead he plays bishop check, back this way, captures here, threatening bishop g2 mate, so the queen has to give her life. And now the rook comes in, and it is trouble. When this rook comes over, now that h2 square is in a very dangerous square. It's a tough one to defend. And Paulsen tries this idea, attacking the rook, but Morphy plays a move that blocks off the bishop and threatens the checkmate. And Paulsen resigned, because next is rook from h, captures h2 check, king g1, and then rook from e to g2 for checkmate. And that's it. That is Louis Paulsen against Paul Morphy in 1857, the First American Chess Congress. I'll check you later.